and that's what we need.
Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo, joins us on the phone now. Dr. Bayo, always a pleasure to speak to you. Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Titus Bayo. Right, we don't have Dr. Bayo, but in the studio, Winston and Inshira Ado, gentlemen. Inshira, hi to you. Good morning to you. It's always a pleasure to have you back. So how are you?
Hanging in there, dodging COVID and trying to keep safe.
Long may you dodge it. Long may you dodge it. All right. So, I mean, look, this month has been a flurry of activity on the COVID front, but not all of it positive. We've had the case count go through the roof. But the thing is, we're not actually sure whether the numbers, shocking as they are, reflect in any accurate way the truth. We've got limited testing. And wherever you go in this country, you have to meet a case definition before you are referred for a test. There are people in villages who don't even go to hospital, let alone, give symptoms that would lead them to a test. Yet, in spite of that, the numbers are going up. I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. I'm told that we do have Dr. Titus Bayo now on the line. Dr. Bayo, good morning, and pleasure to speak to you.
Good morning, and good morning to your colleagues and the listeners as well.
Now, these are troubling times. The numbers are going up even though testing is down. We're hoping to see more testing following the directive of the Ghana Health Service. But even that, will require us to stick to some sort of referral system, which means you must meet a case definition before you get tested. In light of the fact that this thing is now presenting with very different symptoms, do you think this is enough to mop up all of those we may have been missing so far?
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction because we need to balance things a bit. If you just ask anybody to walk into the testing laboratories in a few days, I'm sure they will be overwhelmed. And therefore, we'll begin to get a situation we had before, where results will be delayed by weeks because of the numbers of people. So putting in some form of referral system helps. But I think what the Director General said was that you don't necessarily have to meet a particular case definition. If you feel that you have the symptoms, you get into any health facility, and then somebody gives you a request, then you can have the free test done. And I don't think that the practitioners would insist that you have had a contact with someone, because we are very much aware of the varying presentation of this thing now. So if you feel exposed, you feel you are having funny symptoms, and you go into any health facility, my expectation is that they should give you a request to walk into any of those labs and have it done. What may help us going forward is if we eventually change our testing, maybe to this simple antigen-based test, which can be done in the community, which you can buy and even do the test yourself. But then our challenge has always been, if you decentralize the test that is not linked to the healthcare system, then we have a problem where people are walking around who are positive and have no clue what to do with their results. So this measure helps, because if you are being referred from a particular facility and you get your results, you can go back there and tell them, this is what I was told. I'm positive, I'm negative, and then they can link you to the system as well.
That's good. Now, let's talk about the nation's management of COVID-19. The president has announced the reopening of schools. That is happening as we speak. Also, he has said that if the case count keeps going the way it is, if they keep increasing at the rate that they're currently increasing, he will have to do another lockdown. He said that if the schools are unable to observe the protocols, he will have to shut them down again. From the perspective of the Ghana Medical Association, are we at that point where the president needs to consider locking down and shutting down schools?
So I think we should distinguish restrictions from lockdown. Lockdown is one of the restrictions. From the point of view of the Medical Association, we think at this moment there's a need for reimposition of restrictions. And the kind of restrictions we think should be imposed immediately are mass gatherings. it is our view that all forms of mass gatherings should be restricted almost immediately. For a lockdown, as in to restrict people from moving out of their homes, we think that needs deeper consideration. Remember, lockdowns always buy you time and to slow down the spread while you do something about it. And so if you are doing a lockdown, you must have a defined period and an objective to achieve during that period. We do not think where we are, a nationwide lockdown where everybody should not move out of their home is required yet. We think the first step that will slow the spread now is the mass gatherings, because we think these are super spreader events and that can buy us a bit of time, control the situation. However, if after full assessment of the situation, there's a need for localized lockdowns or imposition of curfews, I think at that point that recommendation will be made. But currently, we think that mass restriction is imperative.
How about the schools? Would you call, a classroom of 90 pupils a mass gathering?
So the schools is a bit of a tricky one. We've been monitoring the school situation. We are trying to do an assessment of what it is like in terms of outbreaks in the schools and what is happening. Remember, I mentioned on our platform, the school is a continuum of the society. If we don't take care, we are trying to create a false niche of the school where it's supposed to be a safe zone, and then the students come back into the community, which is loaded with the viruses. But we expect that in the school it should be neutral. That would be a false creation, and it can't sustain itself. In nature, there will always be an equilibrium. So we think that if you control in the community, then control in the school will come. But before one can make a recommendation in terms of lockdown, closure of the schools, I think we must have data that there are outbreaks within the schools and the situation is getting worse among kids. We have reported cases among children, but there's no evidence that these were within the school setup. So we will need data to kind of make that call. But so definitely a class of 90, depending on the size of the classroom, again, that question must come in. Whether the classroom is big enough to allow the 2 meter spacing between the students is a question. But I think from the GES own guideline, they are supposed to split up classes that are unbearably large, which was vague because they could have given per meter squared or something. That if you have this number of students per meter squared, split the class. But if you say unbearably large, that is subject to interpretation. And I think that is one area of their guidelines that need to be looked at.
Right. Now, you were talking about how we need data. And by data, you mean we need kids to get sick before we know whether we should shut the schools down. Would it not be safer for us to observe whether kids can follow the protocols? If they can't follow the protocols, we shut down before they start getting sick. Would that not be perhaps a better way of protecting them?
Yes, but when I mean data, we don't have to get the kids to be sick first. One way out is random sampling, okay? The other is observing what is happening. So how many classrooms are 90 or more in the classroom, and what is the class size? We should have this kind of data populated that we can look at. Is it a localized problem? Can we should a classroom with 25 people be closed down because one school somewhere has 90 students in a class and they cannot observe the protocols? If in another school the students are only 20 in a class, they are allowed to eat in their classroom. They are not coming together and they are observing all the protocols. Should we close down all the schools because another school somewhere has 100 pupils that they cannot obey the protocol? So we need to have, this is the kind of data that I mean. What percentage of the schools are not able to comply with the protocols? That should be available. Secondly, I think that apart from just observing the protocols, we've seen people observe all the protocols and still get infected. So I think the most logical thing should be we should have random sampling. We may pick up asymptomatic kids and then be able to tell that, look, we are having this thing at this percentage of infection in our schools. It's no longer safe because there may be asthmatics within the kids. There may be children with other conditions who, when they get infected, it will get worse. So random sampling of schools is recommended nationwide. They can sample per district, per sub-metro or whatever, and go into some schools, sample classes. Just do random checks every week and tell us when we did our random sampling this week, this was the yield that we got. Next week we do it. The following week we do it. So if we see that the prevalence is going up, we can say, no, look, we are getting a lot of asymptomatic spread within our kids. They will be a danger to themselves. They will be a danger to their parents. Because of this, it's nationwide. Therefore, we are closing down the schools. That is the kind of data that will be helpful. We don't need to wait for the kids to be sick, admitted to school, to hospitals before. No child should die because of this condition.
Yeah, that would be nice. Unfortunately, some children have already died. We know 9 children were infected in Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital in the wards. And sadly, some of those children have died, including an 11-day-old baby. Does this change the narrative? Do we now have to consider the fact that COVID is as dangerous to kids as it is to adults, unlike what we used to think?
I think the narrative changed right from the beginning of this year, when we realized that people with no underlying medical conditions are succumbing to this disease. I mean, the new surge we've had is completely different. Our colleagues who get it, almost all of them show symptoms. And I'm talking about doctors here who call us and let us know and are updating their data. We are seeing most people who get it actually becoming sicker. The muscle pain, the fatigue, and all of that comes with it was not like before. And therefore, if we are getting kids also dying, as the data is suggesting from Komfo-Anokye, it tells us that, look, what we are dealing with now is completely different. And we can no longer have a safe zone, let me put it that way. Patient profiling now is very difficult. You can't say that because I am young, I'm healthy, I'm not likely to get it. So kids also now are at risk from what we are seeing. Yesterday, I know a family that tested, and the entire family, everybody tested positive. This is a doctor, the spouse is also not a doctor, they have kids, and all of them are positive. And these kids were in school. So the questions we're asking ourselves, did these people get it from, did the kids bring it from school, or did the parents bring it from the hospital? But the entire family is positive. So now, and the kids were actually coughing, which means that they are also showing symptoms. So this is what faces us now as a nation.
Wow. Dr. Bale, before we let you go, we've noticed a new phenomenon of double masking. Some people are wearing 2 masks instead of just one. Famously, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams was seen wearing 2 masks at the former President Rawlings' burial service. And this has, it seems to be catching on. What's the science behind this? Is this actually a recommended thing for our personal protection?
Well, it's not only in Ghana. I've read the literature elsewhere, and I've seen the practice also in other places. It pretty much depends on what kind of mask you are using. And that is why at the point of registering these masks, the FDA is supposed to categorize them, and I think they do, so that we know the level of protection that they offer, the pore size of the mask. It is assumed that if you use 2 normal surgical or medical masks, then you would increase your level of protection, because if something filters through the other, most likely it will be trapped by the next. And you know that the protection you get from the N95, KN95, is definitely higher than the normal surgical mask. And again, I should send some caution here. A lot of the masks available are not medical masks. They are simple face masks, which are safe to wear in the community. But if you are going into a high-risk event, like us who work in the hospital or in an enclosed area where you cannot guarantee what the situation is there, then that kind of a simple mask may not be as protective. And that is why in those environments, the KN95 or N95 is better. Or the cloth masks that were made here under the FDA supervision are actually better, because they are almost comparable to the KN95. Most of the masks around are industrial masks, and so their pore size is not as small as the KN95 and the N95. If you double them, scientifically, you stand to get some benefit. But it comes with an attendant problem or of increased difficulty in breathing. So if it's a normal daily walk in town and that, it may not be necessary. But I would assume that if you are going into an event where there are a lot of people and you are worried and you want to double it up, why not? No one should stop you if you can afford it.
Well, thank you for that. Dr. Titus Bill is the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. We appreciate your time with us. 8:37. Guys, got a couple of minutes before the next break. Love to hear your thoughts on the COVID numbers in January. Inshira?
I think that over the lockdown period, looking back and hearing Dr. Bayo speak about lockdown buying you some time, I think we may have marginally failed largely to have been a lot more proactive with the process in that the dashboard and the underreporting may be a result of not having some type of a centralized system that's enabled by technology to report almost in real time what the numbers are across the country. I mean, we deployed infrastructure backed by IT for the elections. I don't think that it would have cost that much to do a similar thing to enable the dashboard to accurately record what was happening. I think for me, that's my biggest challenge, because it's a situation where the more data you have, the faster you are at trying to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, something that caught the entire globe unawares. So I think going forward is something that we ought to do. But our own contribution to limiting the effect, which is the distancing and all of these things, we must continue to enforce the laws. We must continue to ensure that there's more communication on all the various platforms, so people are doing what is expected of them to keep the spread. But in all honesty, I found a number of things that were done by leadership of this country, the administrators of the state themselves, being one that did not show a demonstrable posture of meaning well and doing what is expected of them. And I hope that going forward, those things would actually be curtailed.
Thank you. Churchill?
Yes, Kojo. So listening to the president, and while he was speaking, he talked about the schools and the fact that if we do not do things well, he may be forced to close down the schools. Now, I want to suggest to the president that sadly, even though the Ghana Education Service had indicated that we're going to be supplying PPEs to schools, our checks have indicated that some schools still have not received the promised PPEs. And so it is no longer parents or school children who are not adhering to COVID-19 safety protocols, because we also know that there's a poverty element in all of this. The very institution that promised to make these available, Ghana Education Service, in their guidelines for the management of COVID-19, has not done so. Okay? And so if you haven't done so, you're actually going contrary to your own promise and endangering the lives of these persons. Look, I have said it. I was in self-quarantine for 3 days and I lost weight. I mean, I was shocked. I couldn't do anything, and I asked myself, how do those who have to stay in the hospitals for 14 days, 20 days, 30 days, how do they feel when they contract COVID-19? And it's not just staying at home and eating, but they are sometimes on ventilators suffering. It is the reason why I say, yes, we have to open the schools at a point in time. But in opening the schools, the president made a statement that we all applauded him for. We know how to bring back the economy on track, but we don't know how to bring back lives that are lost. That should be the guiding principle. And you see, the numbers are about 3,900. Our discharge policy would tell you that after 10 days of treatment, you can be discharged. Now, what that means is that the 1,924 that the president talked about 12 days ago would have been gone. Off, because it's past the the number of days that our discharge policy stipulates. Today, let me just show you something. And I mean, if you look at our total number of cases as a country when it comes to COVID-19, it's 3,940. This is from the Ghana Health Service's own website. It tells you 625 new cases and 390. Yesterday when we were having conversation, it was around 377.
That's right.
13 more
All deaths.
persons have died as a result of COVID-19. And mind you, for almost a year, we're looking at 300 deaths. For just a month, we're seeing over 70 deaths. That will tell you something. What that tells you is that the times of saying, okay, we're imposing restrictions and not enforcing it are gone. But finally also, Kojo, and I've said this before, and I think we need to look at this. The police last week when I asked a question about EI-164, the police sent me a communication that said EI-164 has expired and that it expired somewhere in September because it was passed in
EI-164 is the directive that covers the wearing of masks.
No mask that comes with punishment. Yes. The police, and I showed it to Samir Adami, they've told me it has expired.
So it is currently not illegal to walk around without a mask.
So you see, yes. So the point is, we must impose restrictions. Today, people organize funerals as if there's no COVID. Yes, I have said it before, and I say it again, that the prevention of COVID-19 starts and ends with you. Make sure you do the right thing and urge your next person to do the right thing. But there are some people who don't like to do the right thing. It's the reason why there are laws. It's the reason why we must enforce laws. Let us enforce the laws and ensure that people do the right thing. But it starts also with the imposition of some restrictions.
I would like to offer a correction. It starts with you. It doesn't end with you. Because unfortunately, you can do all the right things. If somebody next to you does the wrong thing, you can end up sick.
That's true.
So it starts with you. It doesn't end with you. And you see, our strongest weapon in this fight is information, is data.
Yeah.
That's why testing is so important. And I'm worried about our testing regime in this country. I'm happy to see what the Ghana Health Service has issued by way of directives. So from now on, if you go into the hospital, you're not feeling very well, a doctor will refer you for a test.
But you see, Kojo, my concern, sorry to jump in, is that we're realizing that a number of the cases that are being presented now are being presented late, largely because there's no symptoms. It is when it's actually become a critical situation that you start showing certain symptoms and end up going to the hospital. So maybe we should look at people doing a lot more of the random sampling that Dr. Bayo said should be done in the schools.
Yeah, for me, that problem is even farther away because at the very least, those with symptoms need to be able to get a test.
I agree.
That's to begin with. There are enough people with symptoms who are unable to test. Okay, and if we could at least mop those up, then our only problem will be the asymptomatic cases. But right now, even those with symptoms can't test because there aren't enough testing places. There are about 15 certified places in the whole country to test. So if you are living somewhere in Gumwa Odana, your district hospital can't test. Your regional hospital is in Cape Coast. What will take you there? Joint pains, a cough? Will that take you to your regional hospital? So where will you get that test done? Meanwhile, I don't know if you remember, at the beginning of this, one of the big plans, the grand schemes that were announced at one of these press briefings, was that they were going to take all of those TB testing equipment. The machine is called Gen Expert. They were going to take those machines and then repurpose them to test for COVID.
That's right.
It can be done. They just change the cartridge from TB to COVID, and then you can test for COVID.
That's right.
Okay, and these things are all over the country. Our donors have provided them everywhere. Every district, you'll find a TB testing Gen Expert machine. So the plan was to convert them all so that wherever you are within a very short trip of a testing site.
And the shorter the trip, the less you are as a risk of spreading.
Thank you. That didn't happen. That still hasn't happened. 15 places in the whole country can test. We're doing something wrong. Anyway, we've got more to discuss. January was that kind of month. So much happened, and we need to talk about it all. When we come back, we'll spend a bit of time talking about the Galamsey fight and what I would optimistically call its revival in January. Stay with us.
Same great bang. Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our networked branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302-210-210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
Hope you have heard rent to own now in Ghana. The Plan City Extension Project Rent to Own Land and House Ownership Scheme by the Ningo Prampram District Assembly and its partners, supported by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the UN Habitat, are right here in Ghana. So be smart though, because where you trade and live really matters. Apply now and own a home or a fully serviced land. Wait a minute too. Don't forget to join our affiliate housing cooperatives also. Special offers last until 31st March 2021. Call us on 055 55 3300 or 0577 911101 and 055 70 54 635. Website newaccra.city. Plan City Extension Project, shaping Ghana's urban future.
Na lamte busianye last week oh. Naso this week omo busianye. Edian Asisa. As Lamte here say Go TV Max drop in price from 70 Ghana cedis to 60 Ghana cedis month. Biape, they didn't delay cra. Omoko upgrading one time. CCA ye the sports, entertainment, kids shows, and in Yama Bebre, Abre Lamte Busiamo Monia Jabroso. Be like the Lamte family. Upgrade the Go TV Max CCA. Cheer 60 Ghana cedis. Now enjoy maximum entertainment for less. Cafe Dokra. Use the Go TV app no for connect with Go TV Max so and I could pay by the point agent to be in your area for maximum entertainment. Offer valid from 14th January to 31st March 2021. T's and C's apply. Go TV, love it.
Hey, Bra Kofi, your ceiling be smooth, bright and fine, Papa.
That's an understatement. It dey blink like 80 carats white gold. This be Interface plasterboard ceilings. Smooth, bright, and long-lasting. Everybody where they come here, they fill up. Where they direct them go Interface Limited for world-class quality.
If you're involved in new property development, renovation, or decoration, the right place for you is Interface Limited. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
You're welcome back to the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We are reviewing the month of January. It's been an eventful one. We'll get back to that in just a moment. But first, carrying cash is so last season. The new best thing to do is to pay with your card, whether making payments from a point-of-sale machine or online. Get yourself the quick assist using your contactless Absa Vertical Card, okay? It allows you to pay with a tap on the point-of-sale machine, making it even safer in this COVID-19 period. Plus, you enjoy up to 40% discount when you pay with a card at an Absa partner. Get the card assist from Absa and get things done. That is Africanacity. That's Absa. Absa, the official banking partner of the Premier League. Go visit absa.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. And please follow all COVID-19 protocols this season. Now, please start off your year by stepping things up. DSTV will allow you from now to the 31st of March to upgrade your current DSTV package to the next one, and then they bump you up to the one above it at no extra cost. Okay, so let's say you have access. All you do is you pay for family, and then DSTV will give you compact at no extra cost. Follow DSTV with the hashtag DSTV Step Up for more, or call them on 0302 740 540. Now, you know, as always, MTN wants you to experience the safest and most secure way of enjoying MTN Momo. That is why from the 2nd of April 2021, you'll be required to present a valid national ID card anytime you visit a Momo agent point to perform a transaction. Please note, this is to help you keep receiving cash and just handling your transactions in a safe and secure way. That is why we're good together. Just Momo it everywhere you go. Okay, well, January, among other things, saw an urgent and desperate attempt to revive the fight against Galamsey. It all started after the president said this.
The pollution of our rivers and water resources has been so acute on occasion that the Ghana Water Company is unable to afford the distilling of water to make for safe drinking. We have to talk about Galamsey.
Leader of the team conducted a search room by room. There were indications of military presence.
From what we are seeing here, it looks like there are some military men involved in this whole activity in this forest. Looking at their uniforms, even some have names on them, but we did not meet any of them. But looking at it, I think the military were the people protecting them here to do this illegal job.
Ishra, do you think the media kind of dropped the ball for a while in this fight against Galamsey?
Kojo, I think the media has done its bit 150%. The conversation had been sustained over years, leading to the president promising to the extent of betting his presidency on the back of a sustained fight to end Galamsey. So for me, 4 years down the line, hearing him say we need to talk about Galamsey is quite disturbing and alarming for me. It suggests that the 4 years since he said, I will put my presidency on the line to ensure that I'm fighting Galamsey, it means that he either didn't or has not succeeded in achieving that goal. And so we should stop the talk and rather have some actions taken. The incident that Erastus uncovered for me speaks volumes, especially off the back of that. You saw the press statement from the Ghana Armed Forces saying they were going to do a full-scale investigation into this. I mean, it begs questions. It just makes you wonder, how is it that you will have a unit out there working and you didn't know where they were? As a matter of fact, a clarification of the situation should have been what was contained in that report, and rather than saying that there was going to be some type of an investigation into it. This has been going on, and I think that if the president really wants to take the fight against Galamsey to a fruitful conclusion, he's got to start cleaning his own home, because from what we've seen, you cannot tell me that those who are perpetrating these acts are people who are not influential and quite possibly connected to the central power in this country. It's got to stop, and the buck will stop with the president. And if indeed he wants to build some sort of a legacy in this second term, I think that the one big legacy he'll be able to leave is that a country, Ghana, that has a renewed water quality of our water bodies and our land, because really that is all we have to go on beyond the now. I really am not excited about the fight. I think we've done too much talk. Previous administrations have done the talk, but really and truly, if you ask me today, I'm telling you, if I'm rating this, I don't think we've done enough. And it's not about talk.
Now, we've talked about this a lot this month. In fact, this show has hosted Ken Ashigbe and many others who have shared deep insights into what we're doing wrong and what we need to do to make this fight sustainable and even winnable. But sometimes, Winston, it feels like this is all a little bit futile. The people we depend on to solve this problem are the people who benefit from the problem. It's kind of like, I don't really know how to say it, but it's kind of like, asking your rapist to end rape in Ghana. I don't know how that is going to work. Are we wasting our time?
Well, we're not wasting our time, except that we're not doing the right things, Kojo. And let me start off by saying that, you see, those that were tasked with ensuring that we won the war against Galamsey, what strategies were put in place? Now, these strategies that we put in place, were they the strategies that were going to win the war for us? Now, I think that I believe, first and foremost, that we did not, this particular war against Galamsey didn't have ownership in the local communities. And I'd explain. So we set up the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining and tasked them to come up with strategies. Now, what sort of consultations did they do before they had formed Operation Vanguard and decided to get into the bush and say, we are enforcing the war against Galamsey? Enforcement is very important. In fact, it's key in every fight. But sometimes people must unlearn the wrong things they know and learn new things. What am I driving at? People who are engaged in Galamsey, who are controllers of local economies, must be told right in the face and must be engaged on how they are causing problems to the nation. First of all, the decision to ban small-scale mining, with hindsight, was a bad one. Yes. Because the moment we did that, these persons, as a means of survival, were also going to get into the very thing that we said we were trying to solve. Because they had told you, engage us to help you in the fight against Galamsey.
And that's what has been done in other places, including Colombia. They had a similar problem, and they rolled out the Oro Verde program, which got the artisanal miners to do their work sustainably.
Exactly. So if I am doing it right, and you're doing it illegally, and by doing it illegally, you're costing me, I would make sure that you're exposed and dealt with. So the moment we went out there and banned small-scale mining, that particular situation was always a recipe for disaster. 1. 2, we should have engaged community members to get them to appreciate why we are doing this. Because we sat in Accra and talked about how our water bodies were being polluted. It is true. But did these persons understand that their actions were causing us that much? Look, I have seen a naval officer drown in the Pra River and die because he was chasing Galamseyers.
Yeah.
He drowned. And even when he died, to get his body, they had to, these same Galamseyers had to go and perform rites before they got his body. The point I'm making is, we had a wonderful idea, but again, as has been our problem in this country, a lot of our ideas are planned in Accra, sent down to the people, forced upon them, without making the people a part of the very thing which is supposed to benefit them.
Ownership.
The ownership is missing in many of the things we do, and that is the reason why in a lot of the things we do, we fail. Now, the moment the president says we need to have a national dialogue, it's an admission of failure in the first instance, which is not a bad thing. You started, you failed. Now, the president says we need to have a dialogue on it. And I am saying, once we are going to have a dialogue on it, let it be a broad-based, consensus-building dialogue. Let it not be, as has always been the case, of a few people sitting in Accra and the regional capitals and taking a decision and expecting everybody to do that. In fact, one of the best ways we can fight Galamsey is also when we draw policies at the national level, broad frameworks, get the regional and district levels to also, based on their peculiar circumstances,
adapt
to those policies that we have drawn. Now, anybody, so if we're giving, for instance, every district has a chief executive who's the head of the district security council, it should be their responsibility in ensuring that they're able to do this, one, and also we should engage the chiefs. Yes, I know some chiefs are greedy, but if you're a chief that is greedy, then we should arrest you and jail you.
Absolutely.
If you're found to have done the wrong thing. The moment a chief is jailed, it tells you that he can no longer be a chief. And so that person would lose his chieftaincy and he would learn from it. If we don't do these things and we think that, we're just going to say we are going to the bushes. Look, let me be very honest with you. The reason why I say we need ownership is that in a lot of the instances, before they get to these areas, they know and they run away. And it got to a point in time, people were fighting to be part of Operation Vanguard because they felt it was juicy. Look, let us not deceive ourselves. In fact, one of the people who would help us win this war would be the community members themselves who have been involved in the planning, who have been made to believe in the need to actually fight this war. Not just persons, soldiers, policemen with guns who get into the communities. It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. Well, that was Galamsey. Tell you what else happened in this month of January. A conversation ensued about press freedom following what happened to colleagues like Manasseh Azuriawuni, Umaru Sanda, and Abdul Hayy Muman, and many others. For some reason, the media, and Erastus Asaridonko and his team as well, for some reason, the media was a target.
Ana etete funom poateko timo de mayan tuakase boy so yesakan we besan de na to homa no so enka yensa kafri kumase ne say you tuni okay so akwato mona odi abayu abi adi mfie wodua from pa wagene no waye ni doso awenga kana wu ayesi ne say de o twetwe ni oni no koda nwe ne say retwetu obedane sa medane ene na dwendwene abodi fata wo na udi wo post na so de mi hu wo moti say China phone obi agia boss best rapper alive see ahwehwe mu ne abo bodru fight na waba huma isu mami bisa nsem bi say gwene ho se ana me how
Wama meni adimini si abotre democracy nti obi ane na jentre muma mu bumfu wiase bibia wone mre na nana maka to hodada masan sensre yeso wakoto de ni bre so de enso a obu na pre munya no waya gre ba che obeka no kre apechi obutu kwa hu mposi wanyine wusi kwa hu si wanyine na dio di wubutu ho eya na ye memobo da sani hu ni hu mobo peja na beti se bepo na wakeke mu setebo se wo jine hu a wo pa ese pompo wa wo kampo hu a nche na wate ato
ampa wanwate Chabido fira himfie saa na mate asebisa etwa to obrafo konkon sani bia ni wo beto zentrefo meti nyumbi me pesa uchide yemu simple and short yes hip life
oh what should that na crack it would have been a manti and now say a fit machinary antimony watch hip life where you be swami tiasi and your tank cafe na yin na to betike the minimum music is dynamic. The umpen sakrayenu nehuna mane. Se wu yo midi yami. Ebum uyo dum tuni na uyo kunini. Se mre dani na se nyum mani. Minu enjani dani uhuki. Wodi atubuma minche o mime concern. Nse mfuwa wanyu broni friend content. Enu na yeto si. Mimpese mebubodi. Dafufo mamimre na minche matin.
Yo yen sempo amanfo. Nyamoteni kan eye rap software. Musumfu guru niye.
Kasebo by Obrafo featuring Guru. This is how we want to say happy birthday to Auntie Mame, or Anna, or Mana, or Auntie Mary, or Amene. Wonderful names. She turns 80 today, and this is a birthday wish coming to you from the Provençal and Hyde families. Oscar Provençal, who plays Inspector Bediakon, and Neobodai Provençal, John, Barbara, Regina, also known as Baby, Namale, Virginia, Nabidu, Rita Provençal, and the Atiogbe family. Happy birthday to you. You are blessed indeed. Ah, boy, this matter. Anyway, for some reason, the media was the target of many people. the police, the military, armed men, several others were beating journalists and threatening their lives over politics and over things that they have said which they didn't agree with. All kinds of threats leading to journalists having to beef up security, having to go into hiding. It's been a tough time for us this January. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, they come in different shapes and names. You've seen the rest, but the best are all at Kingdom Books and Stationery. I'm talking about temperature guns, all right? Buy one for yourself or buy them in bulk and sell them. They've all got precise non-contact measurements, automatic data hold, auto power off. They come with a backlight LCD display, and you can set alarm values on it, among other things. If you want to buy in bulk, go to Kingdom Books and Stationery and you can call them on 050-140-1050, or just walk into any of their shops across the country or their head office, which is at Usu Akweje Junction. Thank you. All right, then. So, text messages on the Super Morning Show are brought to you by Glycocritical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive. So, the military, the police, political activists, all of them took their turns to either threaten or attack journalists. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. But some of them had to even go into hiding.
When we get to a level that your life is being threatened, I think it is very serious, and no journalist should take it lightly, because it can happen to anybody. It happened to Ahmed Swale, and it was carried through. Those who threatened him and said they would pay are free. He has family for 2 years now. Nobody has been held responsible for anything. So when it happens like that, one cannot say, even beyond these death threats and the actual murder of Ahmed Swale, we also know what happened to the Modern Ghana reporters. So I speak to a number of journalists, and 2 months ago, a journalist was actually told by somebody at the security services that back off from this story. It's a warning I'm giving you. If you don't, we will invite you. So these are some of the things that go on, but not many are able to publicly speak about it.
I have my mask inside my car. You came to stop me. So, if you are a wise person and you want to accuse somebody for doing something, you have to do the right thing first. You understand? Open the bonnet for me, okay? Yes, please give me one step at a time. Talk to me then.
Clips there from Umaru Sanders' encounter with the police when a routine search turned into an abusive encounter with threats of assault, attempts to assault the journalist. Inshira.
I must be honest with you. There are countless examples of what happened to our colleagues happening elsewhere in the country. And I guess, for the lack of a better expression, because we sort of have access to a broadcast platform, that we're able to put these things out there. And for me, it speaks volumes of the way we have equipped our security agencies. And when I say equipped, I'm talking about the key element in there, which is the human factor. It goes to how we've recruited, how we've trained, how we've conscientized these people. And sometimes, forgive me, but we have thugs who have been put in uniforms, roaming our streets in the name of providing law enforcement and maintaining the peace. Until we get to the point where we are doing recruitment properly, where people who truly have the desire and the competency and have gone through proper training and whatever psych evaluation and the right emotional intelligence to carry out the job of a police officer or a military officer on our streets, we will continue to have these situations. Now, if you look at the threat against the journalists, the fallout from the elections and all of these things, it is an unfortunate situation. And we seem to have not done much about it. There have been countless threats prior to, sadly, the passing or the murder of Ahmed Swali. 2 years on, the simple fact that we still do not have anybody in court and found anybody to try for that particular murder will embolden other people into wanting to carry out such acts in the future. And if you cannot offer protection for the citizenry and also for people whose lives are sometimes openly threatened, what you're doing is creating space for impunity and for people to think that, well, after all, if I am good at what I do and I do it properly, then I might be able to get away with it. When sadly the MP, the late J.B. Dankwa Edu was murdered, not long after, the police got out there and did some good work. And I've always said this, that the Ghana Police Service can be super excellent when they want to be. And please, my call really today is that the police service must have major introspection and ensure that they're equipping the people, motivating them to do things by the book and do it properly, and never use the uniform as a baton to bash the heads of the citizens as though they are superior and above the law. Tell, if you see how some policemen will stop you and talk to you, you dare not ask a question. I wonder whether it's a force or a service. Somebody needs to explain that element of the name that was given to them and the role they're supposed to be playing in our society.
Well, it's a service, and so.
Well, yeah, but they behave like they're supposed to beat you into submission. I mean, someone will stop you, and you slow down, and hey, my friend, stop. Meanwhile,
when you're a journalist in Ghana, people stop you on the roadside, along the road.
Mm-hmm.
Feedback is very, very important, and we all take feedback.
Yes.
But people stop you on the road sometimes, and they say things to you, and they want you to pick it at all costs because they think that is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you explain to them, they do not understand because to them, that is the right thing. I'll give you a typical example, and this would help me buttress my point. Someone sent me a message and said, why are you mentioning the Techiman South results that the Electoral Commission gave? Why are you not putting out the NDC's figure?
Mm.
That's the right one. And I said, well, I started by saying the disputed Techiman South constituency. But as part of my professional ethics, the only people I can take results from is the Electoral Commission.
That's right.
My ethics do not allow me to be taking results from political parties.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can talk about it. We've talked about the NDC's figures. But whenever we're talking about Techiman South results, parliamentary results, we would go with the Electoral Commission's gazetted results.
That's right.
I can't go and say, this is what the NDC had. I can, as part of a conversation, say, well, the NDC is disputed by saying they also had this, but these are the gazetted results.
I agree.
So, no. You asked, I said, so how do you expect me to do that? And I said, it's not professional. He says, really? No, you're not doing the right thing. And I say this because when you're driving on the street, people stop you and they accuse you.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, you see. Now, when Major Maxwell Mahama was murdered,
mm-hmm.
we went into the town, picked up a lot of people. Yes, we said there was a video to it. Fantastic. When J.B. Dankwa was murdered, there was no video to it. But we picked the Siedu boy.
Mm-hmm.
The one that would tell, they call him sexy, whatever.
Don,
yes. We picked him up. I say we because the state.
Yeah.
Represented by the police, picked him up. We can talk about a lot of murder cases. That former Ashanti Regional chairman of GJA who was shot somewhere in 2007, 2008.
That's right, yeah.
Enin. Where are his killers? Ahmed Swaleh has been 2 years. Where are his killers? You see, so in a country where it looks like sometimes, I mean, it looks like, I saw journalists, not much is heard about them, nobody cares so much. And that is why, for me, this is a very important topic. Look, I think that as journalists, we have also not done a lot for ourselves. Sometimes we think that, it's in another house, it doesn't affect me. It affects all of us.
Yeah.
Because it is your brother today, tomorrow it will be you. That practice of police harassing, a journalist should stop. The police are not supposed to harass anybody. They must not harass journalists. Look at that policeman and the things he said that you cannot even repeat. If you stop me to check me, and I say, fine, I have stopped, you can go ahead to check me. Under no circumstances must I be assaulted as a result. Some have suggested that, and I think it is about time that as media practitioners, we boycott institutions that do not treat journalists well, to send a signal to those who are leaders of that institution that your job is not to harass people, your job is to protect the citizenry, and in protecting the citizenry, violence should never be the way to go.
I wonder whether some of this is a misinterpretation of our cultural, cultural practices. This morning, in the message from the Morning Man, we talked about the importance of asking questions and the fact that we actually, as a society, discourage that. So children should not speak until they are spoken to. You can't just open your mouth and ask questions. You can't question authority. You can't question your betters. Even the idea that we have betters in our society, I wonder whether that is all leading to this culture, which really doesn't, it doesn't favor journalists, because our job is to ask questions, and our job is to ask questions of people in authority. So at all times, we appear to be going against what is our cultural norm. Do you think that perhaps is part of the reason why people like, what's the name of that Hajia who slapped a multimedia journalist?
Hey, yes.
Hajia Fati?
Hajia Fati.
Yes. Is that the reason why people like that, for instance, might think that they are justified to mete out abuse to journalists because they are inferiors asking questions?
Well, I think it's a bit of that, but I think that position, or what we're seeing today, is more a symptom of the impunity of a polarized society. That when I'm in power, I can get away and I can do anything I want and get away with it. I can embolden other people to do all kinds of stuff. Our very own Emmanuel Ante, if you remember, in 2000, and I think of the aftermath of the 2012 elections,
beaten to a pulp.
He was beating. We saw on TV our own Latif. I think at the time somebody had been invited to the CID headquarters. I can't remember, some member of the NDC.
And he walked up to a police officer and
asked
a question.
Yes.
What's the name of that piece of equipment?
Yes.
That was his question.
That's it.
He got beaten for it.
I think it's also the fact that, a lot of people would do things when they feel that they are, one, not always in the right, but they feel that they have the right to do so. And that right is not often born out of a moral standing, but rather what they're standing on, whose apron strings they're tied to. And we've created that problem. We're seeing that seep into the, in this country, we always used to say that, Charlie said, Obi Beye nonsense be Ghana Army. We see the army as the most disciplined, to the extent I think, permit me if this is wrong, was it Bavlolate who said that, or Nunu Mensah, who said that he advocated for national service to be a 1 year in the army so that we'd all become more disciplined people.
I think it should be Nunu Mensah.
It was Nunu Mensah, yeah. So it just demonstrates how low we have sunk as a society. And if we can correct the impunity that our democracy is breeding and the polarization that's unmanaged, we will continue to have these situations. But we can only keep talking about this, expose the rot, and hopefully we get some action taking when people misbehave.
You see, and talking about impunity, it's important I say this. Look, Freddie Blay once said something that he says, if you have to sell your mother to get power, do it. And use that power after you have it to go and bring her back.
Yeah.
Now, the power I'm talking about is important because in this country, we abuse power too much. And the reason why I think that as journalists and as the media, we must also stand firm is that we are supposed to be the voice of the people in holding power to account. Now, people that are elected into power, as much as they have authority, one thing they do not have to forget is that they are there to serve our interest, and we must constantly remind them and remind the people that that person who's been elected into office is not supposed to lord it over you. My point is very simple. If we also go the same way by thinking that persons who have been elected into office become lords overnight and can lord it over everybody, it is the reason why they do the things they do.
We
and it
embolden
is
them.
the same reason why the police thinks that they can do a lot of things to you and work freely. Because when they do that, the body that is representing journalists, the Ghana Journalists Association, is not seen as leading the charge and say, we would not accept this. Look, Samson and Co. represented Ajafo when he was the modern Ghana. I mean, when their offices were ransacked by national security operatives. The media should be able to take institutions that do not treat journalists well on, and you can give them a blackout and see if they would not change. Look, if we continue doing the Ghanaian Onyeshi, Obeyeshi, we must not let things go just because we think that we are Ghanaians. Otherwise, the culture of impunity would never cease in this country. We have had enough.
We have had enough. It's about time you respected the journalist. Respect us. We play an important role in society. We deserve the respect due us.
Ow! Pick up your nose, read the nose, and come the man every day with the respect news. Counteraction and no satisfaction. Guaranteed to give you what you need. Ow! Alright, we are the dancehall coolers. Come again, tell a friend.
Why don't you share with us? Call us 0302 216 541, or maybe you want to say something about the stories we've already talked about. Galamsey, media freedom or attacks on the media, or maybe you want to talk about what happened in Parliament at the beginning of the month. Or maybe your thoughts are going to our management or otherwise of the COVID-19 pandemic. Or you have your own biggest story for the month of January. Share it with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. 0302 216 541. So at Glyco Life, they believe that this is the time to protect your future with their life insurance policies. And our products are designed to offer you peace of mind, especially in this COVID-19 era. Now, to all policyholders, your claims are important, and they advise you to visit their offices so that you can make your claims, or just go to glycolife.com. You can lodge your claims there for prompt service. We're all surviving COVID-19 together, so please pay your premiums via your chosen mode of payment or by Momo on 0591 441 473, or by e-premium from Microfinance to safeguard your policies. The call center team is already in place to support you, so call them on 0202 222 113. Or contact them via their digital channels. Look, they care for your safety. So all of their offices are implementing the Ghana Health Service recommended COVID-19 protocols. Please practice social distancing, keep safe, and trust Glycolife to cushion you for life. Okay, Michael is on the line from Kotobabi. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for calling us.
Yeah, I want to comment on the issue about the journalist attacks and all those things.
Sure, please do. Go ahead.
I mean, sometimes I blame the journalists. Yes, because sometimes you see some of them in bed with the politicians. You see, so then if the next time another politician is also not in power and you've been in bed with him before, and he sees you now with this one, he attacks you. You see, so I will blame the journalists. Some of them are clean, though good, but a lot of them are so corrupt. And that is what is destroying this country. A program will be organized in favor of a political party with some of these radio stations. And that is what is causing this country. If journalists want to be clear and fair to the people of this country, then they should be fair to themselves. And it will help all of us. Thank you, Kojo.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you. Michael is in Kotobabi. Samuel Kofi is in Amasaman. Samuel, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Share your thoughts with us.
Please, my problem is with the police. You see, it's not with the journalists alone. It cuts across everybody when it comes to duties with the police. Look, you are searching a vehicle. You don't even think about your safety, your safety as a police officer. You just enter somebody's vehicle and start searching who is covering you behind. And the way and manner they go about treating not journalists alone. It has happened to me before. I was standing somewhere, they just drove their car to me. That they are coming to search me. And what are you searching for? They start putting their hands in my pocket. So why? They should be careful. I'm an ex-serviceman. They should be careful. That's not how we are trained. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling. So, call us too. Tell us what you think your biggest story for the month of January has been. Or perhaps you want to talk about some of the stories we've discussed here, whether it's Galamsey or press freedom or COVID-19 or what happened in Parliament at the beginning of the month. All right? 0302 216 541. 0302 216 541. All right, Mohammed is in La Paz. Good morning, Mohammed.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you for calling.
May God reward you.
Amen.
In our motherland, we say working for the Lord is sweeter than the person. When we look at the rate of humanity in the motherland, is not existing. The politicians seem to play with every being. And when you are going to complain for your right, then they will turn your right to where you don't even expect they can put your right into. Me, as a speaker here, what I see in the hands of police, in a police headquarters, today I lose what I have. I lose my dignity, my humanity, even, look, if I want to say something, it's like I will insult will come into my mouth. I'm sleeping in a kiosk with 6 live children, like a fool. Meanwhile, I am a wise man as a fashion designer, trying to make the nation, to shaping the children. The journalism that are finishing journalism school, they don't have work of doing, then people are sending them. I was somebody which is crying for this kind of status. How can you be a journalism working for somebody when you don't have your handwork? You can never be a good journalism. That is why some of them go for money. And when they see through, they can't speak. Look, the nation motherland as a Ghana, may God have mercy on us. That is what I'm praying here. If you are giving information as a person. Your words has to be true. That is where we get Jesus from. That is what makes Muhammad to be real. If like Muhammad writes his story by himself, Muhammad here, will never appreciate the book of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad is the illiterate, but his doing activities make Muhammad to become a real.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for calling us, Muhammad in La Paz. Let's go to Tema, speak to Kofi. Good morning, Kofi.
Yeah, good morning, Koji. How are you?
I'm very well, Kofi.
Well, it is the fault of journalists. You are to blame. When Kennedy Japan, an NPP MP, said that people should go after Ahmed Swale, you were quiet. Ahmed Swale was killed. Ken Ejapon wasn't arrested. He's walking free. You, the media, you're not talking about that. If it were to be an NDC MP, you would have picked it up. The journalists are to blame here. You yourselves have allowed people to attack you. Ken Ejapon said or threatened a judge. The judge called him or hauled him before court. He said he was suffering from COVID-19. He went on campaign. Till date, he's walking free, and the judge was shut up. You, the journalist, what did you say about that? The last time I heard you praising, giving Ken Ejapon, you, Colin Jansen, a happy birthday message. So if you yourself, you will not blacklist such a person, but wish him a happy birthday, whilst your own Ahmed Swale was killed, what do you expect? Now you have NPP journalists, you have NDC journalists. So it depends on which party is in power. Evans Mensah, when one of the bodyguards of John Mahama attacked one of your journalists, he said on your station that he was trying very hard to contact other journalists so that they can blacklist the NDC. But it didn't work. It won't work because Evans Mensah himself hasn't got any good credibility. Well,
it's unfortunate that you would say such a thing when you have called our station to share your views. We've given you that opportunity. It's a pity that you would say such things. It's unfortunate. Anyway, thank you for calling. Let's talk to Kofi in... Oh, no, that was Kofi in Tema. Let's talk to Charles in Dansoman. Hi, good morning, Charles.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for the good work being done. My issue is about the galamsey that the Joy FM journalist investigated. Mm-hmm. And I'm very sad about the military commander. Because if a commander, military commander, you have units and you don't know what your units are doing, you better resign. This setting up of a special investigation, I mean, it's neither here nor there. You as a commander, and you don't have the daily activity of your various units, what they are doing, then it's very sad. Then Ghana, we are in a very serious situation. Our security is not safe. If the army commander would say he doesn't know what is happening within his unit, he should resign. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks for calling us, Charles in Dansoman. You can call us too, 0302 216 541. Kofi Bedu is on the line. Kofi, good morning. Hello, Kofi.
Hello.
Kofi, thank you for calling.
Kojo, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Good. Kojo, you know what? What we at Galamsey Mills has been talking about, even in media has done so well by perhaps trying to bring this Galamsey Mills to a zero level. But your effort perhaps has been not been so successful because of the politicians. And I tell you what, military, throughout my life, I have taken military as the most disciplined institution in Ghana. But nowadays, I think they have disappointed me. I've defended them so much, but they have disappointed me. Look at what happened at, Techiman South, where you see the military, some of the military men shooting directly at the voters. We heard from the director of this illustrious that the military are there to protect
the illegal galamsey mining. It's not ironic. And you see that, I think the solution is all happening is the naming and shaming. Let's name and shame these politicians and also the galamsey companies. Here is the case that this company, the Imperial Mining Company, are taking some of you to court to, inject the documentary. What is so unfair in fighting against galamsey? But even shaming will help us a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling us, and that was Kofi Bedu, our last caller. Thanks to all of you who called and shared your thoughts. We appreciate it very much. Okay, so we've got one final all-important conversation to have. We've been looking forward to this all morning. Our friends from Cowbank are about to change your life. Yeah, if they haven't already. And Ajwa Amofa Bedu, head of e-business unit, and Edward Wuzi, relationship manager for online business, will be here with us to share their views. That will be right after these messages. Just before we go, though, Inshira and Winston, thank you for your time with us. But perhaps a minute to wrap up everything, a minute each. Yeah.
Kojo. It's been a wonderful conversation. All I have to say is this, and it has to do with the Ghana Armed Forces and the whole Galamsey investigation they're conducting. I think we need to get to the point where in our institutional administration, we stop an institution from investigating itself, especially a public institution and an arm of service delivery such as the Army or the Ghana Police Service. How do you trust somebody to unearth a wrong they themselves have done? That's why when you're unwell, you go and see a doctor. We need someone else to look into it independently and come up with the answers that we all need so that transparency is restored and the integrity of the Army and the other services is also restored.
Indeed. That's an important point. We've been doing this as a norm for far too long. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Winston.
Well, I think that when it comes to attacks on journalists, particularly by the police, they have no reason to do that. And I think that as a mother body of journalists, the Ghana Journalists Association, they've talked about establishing a legal team to take the police on and all of that. Very important, but a lot has to be done. And for institutions that attack journalists, a blackout is good. We must all stand in this, fight it together, and win together.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right. So let's very quickly take a break. We'll be back after these.
Life is more fleeting than we could ever realize. So live and refuse to be let down. Why let life beat you up when it's all going to fade away anyway? Celebrate life. Celebrate your loved ones. Protect your family when the worst happens by signing up for Old Mutual Black and White Family Plan on WhatsApp. It's safe, it's easy, convenient, and absolutely paperless. Just say hi